Hey guys, it's Lou. I'm back for a record finds video. I think most of these are online finds. There might be a few used vinyl in there. So I just got a big crate here beside me because I'm a little bit behind showing you guys what I've got lately. So this is probably over the last few months, 2-3 months maybe, and some even as recent as this week. I think there's some Discogs stuff in there as well. So starting off, playing in the background, one of my favorite drummers of all time. It's Bill Bruford, and this is his album, which is credited to the name Bruford, which was the name of his band that he started. This was after the King Crimson period, and then he joined, I think, Genesis for an album. He was on the live Seconds Out video, Seconds Out double live album. Then he started the band UK with, again, with John Wetton from King Crimson, and then I think this band came after that, Bruford. This is the third album for this band, sort of your jazz fusion type stuff with some vocals. Alan Holdsworth used to be in this band, was in this band for the first couple of albums, but left. And this band, the guitarist, is a guy who's actually credited. His name is John Clark, but they call him the unknown John Clark. So it's Bruford, John Clark. You got Dave Stewart on keyboards and Jeff Berlin on bass and vocals. And Dave Stewart, Jeff Berlin has played with Bruford on the other Bruford albums. This is called Gradually Going Tornado. Okay, next, Santana, Caravanserai. This is Santana's fourth album and is the first album that the Santana band made that wasn't completely sort of Latin rock based. This was more jazz fusion based. There was still some members from the Santana band that were on this. Greg Raleigh was still on this, but mainly on keyboards, very little vocals on this. I think only 2 or 3 songs have vocals on this album. Neil Sean was also on this, and Michael Shreve on drums, and Chapito was on percussion as well. So there were still several members of the original Santana band on this, but this is definitely different than the first 3, Santana, Abraxas, and Santana 3. This is probably viewed as the best of Santana's jazz fusion albums, and I couldn't argue with that. Welcome and Borboleta, which followed this, are amazing albums as well. I love the first 6 albums, but this is probably the best of the jazz fusion albums. Okay, ACCDC I've shown before. I have all of ACCDC's albums up to and including Back in Black, and I got this, which was a bit of a comeback album for ACCDC. I think this came out in 1990. This is Razor's Edge, and of course included the monster hit Thunderstruck, which, after having a few albums that didn't do so well, they really returned with a vengeance with this album, mainly because of that song, and also Money Talks did quite well as well. Next, a band from the 90s that I had the original CD, and I saw them on their debut tour for this album. This is the band Kula Shaker and the album K. Kula Shaker are a UK band that had a little bit of psychedelic and Eastern flavors in some of their music, as you can probably tell from the cover as well. Probably their best known song was a song called Tatva. They also had a song called Govinda that did quite well. There was some Grateful Dead inspired numbers like Jerry Was There and Grateful When You're Dead. This is excellent stuff. I really like this band back in the 90s, Kula Shaker. This was their debut album, as I said, and their best album by far. Then I got a used record. This is Funkadelic's Greatest Hits. It's a little bit of a beat up cover with some stickers and stuff on it. I've only got one other Funkadelic album, which is For Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. I once ordered Maggot Brain, but it never arrived, so I got a refund for it. But this is a Greatest Hits that I think covers Funkadelic's, I'm going to say their first 5 or 6 albums, and this is excellent. I love this. I definitely will be looking for some more Funkadelic. Next we have some more Santana, a used copy of a live album. This is Santana and Buddy Miles Live. This is a single disc, single LP live album. Neil Sean was on this as well. I believe, I'm going to say Michael Carabello was on this, but I'm not 100% certain. But again, this was Santana Buddy Miles from a concert live in Hawaii. The first side has Evil Ways, which is from the original Santana debut album. Them Changes, which is a Buddy Miles song. And the second side is, let me get the name of this thing right. It's a side-long jam, which is called Freeform Funkified Filth. 25 minutes of exactly that. This is amazing stuff. Again, very much like original Santana band sounding stuff, with some heavy funk in there. This is an excellent album. I was originally going to get this on CD, then I managed to find a pretty good copy on Discogs. Okay, next. As you guys know, I'm a Cream fan, and I've been trying to collect some solo Jack Bruce. This is Jack Bruce's second solo album, I believe, called Harmony Row, back from the early 70s. Songs for a Tailor, I believe, was the first one. This one is not as good. Of course, it's missing, you know, the other two great Cream members, which, Ginger Baker and Eric Clapton. So it's missing that, but Jack Bruce is still awesome on this, and I'd highly recommend this for any Cream fans. Next we have more Santana. This is a bit of a grail for me. I saw this once on vinyl many years ago. It was kind of a beat up copy, so I never got it, but I should have got it because I hadn't seen it since. I then settled for getting the CD, which was quite cheap, but this was a Japan-only release, and I guess that's why it was so difficult to find. But this is a bit of a grail for me. It's Santana's live album called Lotus, and I believe this came after the album I showed you guys earlier, Caravanserai, from a live tour in Japan. Triple LP. Found this on Discogs in pretty good shape. Sometimes these triple LPs with extra panels and so forth get beat up a lot along with the black cover, but this the record on this was listed as VG Plus, and the cover's VG Plus, and I'd have to agree with that. I'm really happy to get this on vinyl. This is awesome stuff. Again, Santana still has the Latin rock influence, but definitely was moving more in a jazz fusion direction, and this kind of sounds a little bit like it was, well, not a little bit, but quite a bit influenced by Bitches Brew and Live Evil. Excellent stuff. Following a triple LP with another triple LP, this is a comp. This is for the band Can, and it's the singles. So this, exactly as it said, it's all of Can's singles, or most of Can's singles, on a 3 LP set. What I can say about this is a great Can overview to get. If you're a little bit more serious into Can, you obviously want to get the actual LPs themselves, because there's some tracks on here that are, because these are single versions, they're edited tracks, and some of Can's songs on their albums proper, they definitely do extend them and jam out quite a bit. For those of you that are bothered by edited versions of tracks, this may not be the album for you, but if you want to get a nice overview of Can's history, and this covers their history quite well, very well in fact. Amazon had this for $40 Canadian, so I definitely jumped on this. Egi Mamyazi was the only album that I had on vinyl for Can, and so I thought getting this would be a pretty good way to cover all their other albums. I've shown some Diana Ross and Supremes in the past. This is a Supremes album without Diana Ross. This is called Right On. I think Jean Worrell, I think is the lady's name, who took over from Diana Ross and became the lead vocalist. This is awesome. I mentioned before that I thought I probably couldn't get into the Supremes without Diana Ross, but I was wrong about that, because this is still, as much of an icon as Diana Ross is, the band showed that they could do quite well without her, and I was really happy to get this. This, of course, is on the Motown label. Sticking with Motown, we have Marvin Gaye's Super Hits, very iconic cover there. This is covering Marvin Gaye's earlier period, prior to What's Going On. So none of the 70s stuff. This has stuff like I Heard It Through the Grapevine, Pride and Joy, huge hits like that. So I thought it was a nice comp to get of Marvin's early stuff. I still need to get some or a few of those 70s albums like What's Going On, Let's Get It On, things like that on vinyl. Next, a double LP set, Johnny Cash, called The Sun. What's it called? It's called The Sun Singles Collection, and I got this from Amazon. Really nice, thick spine on this collection of, I think, almost all of the Sun singles. There may be one or so missing. I think I read in the comments some great pictures of early Johnny in there. This is a great collection. It loses a little bit of steam towards the second LP. It's double LP set, but it's got some of the quintessential Johnny songs. We got Folsom Prison Blues, I Walk the Line, Get Rhythm, and many others. This is a highly recommended double LP set. All right, just a couple more. The next band is a band that I really wasn't that familiar with. I just kind of knew the name. The Milk Carton Kids. This is their latest album, All the Things That I Did and All the Things That I Didn't Do. 2 LP set. And I saw a couple of clips of these guys on YouTube performing live, and it's just them and their acoustic guitars. They were kind of compared in some reviews that I read to Simon and Garfunkel, and they certainly have that, like amazing harmonies and acoustic-based songs. This album, they've diverged from that a little bit, where they have some more instrumentation, which I know some of their fans aren't too happy about that, but I actually like it quite a bit. The main instrument that I really like that they've added is pedal steel guitar, which I'm a big fan of, and they've added some drums where I think in the past, like I said, it was just them, their voices, and guitars. But great new band. Amazon had this for a ridiculous price of 7 something. Somebody obviously had made a mistake somewhere, so I jumped on it, and then the price got hiked up to like 30 something. So that was a good find there. Then a reissue of Frank Zappa, Chunga's Revenge. I believe this album is back from the early 70s and not one of Frank's more known albums. I think this came just after or around the period of Hot Rats. And I'm not that familiar with this album. I really only knew a couple songs. Transylvania Boogie, Not even sure what other song I knew from this. Maybe the Chunga's Revenge title track. But it was going for, I think, in the early 20s, a reissue, so I thought, you know what, I need to add to my Zappa collection. Maybe just a couple more. We've got Hawkwind, and I always get this title wrong. Astounding Sounds, Amazing Music. And this is back from the mid-70s, Hawkwind period. Lemmy was gone by this point. I think Robert Calvert was back in the band at this point. I think this is from around 76, if I'm not mistaken. Not in my top 5 Hawkwind albums, but still a 70s Hawkwind album that I think is worth owning. And last but not least, I have Steve Hillage and the album L. The interesting thing about this album, this is back from, I believe, the mid-70s as well. The interesting thing about this album is the backing band for Hillage on this album is Utopia, Todd Rundgren's band, and Todd Rundgren produced this album. And I think this is Steve Hillage's second solo album, if I'm not mistaken, and noteworthy tracks on there. There's a version of Donovan's Hurdy-Gurdy Man, and I think that's the only... Oh, and the Beatles cover of the Beatles song, I believe, which is on Yellow Submarine. It's All Too Much. Okay. All right, guys. Video's gone on long enough. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.